Finally got around to watching They Live, John Carpenter's 1988 sci-fi cult classic. And I'd call it Gay Live because it's gay. I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion. That's the theme. That's one of the central themes, as well as anti-Reaganism, anti-capitalism, anti-yuppieism. It's gay, and this was pointed out by Noah Berlatsky. That Noah, that Noah Berlatsky, the very same, in a blog post from 2012. The very clear homosexual themes between the two main characters. Nada, he has no name really. He's Nada in the credits, and the black guy. And it seemed right from the start when Roddy Piper takes his shirt off in the construction site, and the black guy's interested. And there's definitely something there. He's been away from his wife and kids for 6 months. That why that is, it's not explained. Um, yeah, he's interested in Roddy Piper. He takes an interest in me, and later in the film, when Roddy turns up at the construction site after the little drama at the bank, that famous scene, the bubblegum scene, and chewing gum scene. And he says, stay away from me. He tells him to stay. I've got a wife and family. You stay away from me. So, and there's very clear allusions to it after their famous fight scene, another famous scene, the very long, lengthy scene, the fight one over the glasses, the Hoffman lenses. Um, they get a room. They literally get a room, like the saying goes, get a room. And they've had a fight, and they book into a hotel room to cool things off a little bit and sort of plan a few things. And Roddy Piper says, Ignata says, he's ain't love grand, and it's love, and they just they get a room. It's it is gay. It's gay. Also, this is also confirmed in the scene with Holly, when he carjacks Holly and they end up back in the place. And she's clearly interested. She's been kidnapped by him, sort of, and wound up. He's got a couple of guns, and she says, "Well, you got two guns. You can do what you want." And says, she's very clearly saying, she can do what you want. And she wants a bit of Roddy Piper, just like the black guy does. Frank Armitage, I think his name is. She clearly wants to have a little bit of a horizontal refreshment. And why wouldn't she? But no, he just refuses. He doesn't even look at her really. Most parties comes around to sort of being a little bit friendly at the end of that scene in her apartment, and she whacks him on the back of the head with a champagne bottle because I think she's a little bit upset about being rebuffed, and he goes tumbling out the window. He really gets smacked around in the movie. The main character, he really takes a beating, and I think a wrestler is probably the only one who could really play that. Pretty brutal. The fight scene and the down the hill and out the window. So he rejects any sort of possibility because he's on the run. He's on the run from the cops. He's a wanted man, but no. You think he'd take an advantage of an opportunity to have a little bit of horizontal refreshment, but no, very little interest. So he's clearly a gay man. And then there's also other themes, plenty of other themes. I think in the choice there's a lot of sort of Hispanic, Latino sort of people in the camp the homeless camp, and the cops come and smash that down and shoot everyone. Uh, Sort of maybe that's an allusion to Central American sort of death squads, the garbage that Reagan and other people, the Reagan administration is up to. Guatemala, places like that, Panama, very bad stuff. And the cops are just straight out fascists. They're maniacs. That's it's as anti-cop as anti-Reagan and anti-capitalism, anti-yuppie. Um, it's very much anti-cop. The cops are just simply fascists, and I don't know. It doesn't quite flesh out some of the narratives because he sees the camp being crushed and the cops, and then the alien thing sort of just inserts itself sort of out of nowhere at the newsstand, and all of a sudden he wants to get the aliens, but it's not really established narratively that the aliens are the bad guys. There needed just to be a little bit more, uh, just fleshed out a little bit more. I've said that. I'll post this to Instagram. Um, it just needed to be established sort of more empirically a little bit that clearly that the aliens were the bad guys. It's just assumed basically from the start, and he sees an alien, and then he grabs a gun. He's running through the bank, and it's too quick. It happens too quick, and it wrapped up in 90 minutes. And you like action films to wrap up fairly quick, 90 minutes, and we know a lot of movies go on for far too long, but this one needed just a little bit more time to slowly dish out the narrative and establish the narrative properly. But I can understand John Carpenter. He hated Reagan. He wanted to get right into shooting the aliens and getting some action on some fight scenes, some explosions, and a little bit of and boom crash opera. And I can sort of understand that and wanted to wrap it up quick. Don't want to bore the audience with sort of a Pirates of the Caribbean or Lord of the Rings. Sit there for 3 or 4 hours, like The Godfather, just droning on and on. I like brevity in a movie, but it's needed just a little bit more. But I did like it. I did quite like the film. The homoerotic themes were a slight surprise to me, but I did read that Noah Belatsky thing. I I didn't know, I had no really idea of that, and but I've got to agree with Belatsky there. He gets the saying wrong. It ain't love grand, he says, in the hotel room with his black boyfriend, and it's very it's good. I do like it. So it is at the Internet Archive. I did find the Internet Archive. I would have got that there instead of trying to find a sort of a DVD. I think the DVD is 720p, and the Internet Archive looks like 1080p. So that would have saved me. I didn't even think to look there for that. Um, Sort of some biblical themes, and the preacher was an interesting character. He could have been a really interesting character, but he was in and out of it really quick. He didn't appear much in this, not at all in the second half. After they trashed the camp, um, he would have been a really interesting character, the blind preacher, to have throughout the film. Or he might have appeared right at the end in the when they're having a big meeting that was raided by the cops and they smashed through. got a bit nasty there too. I think he was in that. I'd have to check that. But the love interest is Holly. I think I picked her as the bad one, as a shady character, but this sort of doesn't seem to be there. It doesn't really add much. I don't think it's not really fleshed out because they only had one encounter before, and that was a crime. That was a carjacking, basically, and so there wasn't really much of an opportunity to establish a proper romance. But she's sort of just the foil, the negative female role to the positive male role. It's very anti-heterosexual, and I think Noah Bilatsky said that, made a point of that. So I did like it. Um, it could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but I do think it's a pretty good film. If you can find a copy, like I said, it's in the Internet Archive, the 1080 pixels. That's a pretty good place to watch. I like it. It's pretty good.